Okay.
All right, everybody. Well, good afternoon. My name is Kate Dowd. I am one of the staff liaisons for the Town of Berlin Parks Commission. We do have quite a number of people at the table. So we'll, I guess, 2026, and we have some new people joining us tonight. Perhaps we'll go around the room and just introduce ourselves and clarify which group we're with for the town. So again, Kate Dowd, staff liaison for the Parks Commission.
I'm Laura Stearns, the chairman of the Parks Commission.
Patricia Duvendorf, a representative on the Parks Commission.
Michelle Gillespie, I'm on the Parks Commission also.
I'm Greg Eastman. I'm with DNR Forest Service as the Eastern Region Urban Forester.
I'm Laura Mulvaney. I'm a volunteer with the Horticultural Advisory Committee.
Kristen Gerhardt with the Parks Commission.
Joan Maloof, I'm not on the Parks Commission. I'm a local resident interested in speaking for trees.
Cody Chester,
I'm sorry.
Town of Berlin Public Works.
And staff liaison of the Parks and Horticultural.
Yeah. And Joan Maloof is a little more than just a resident, but I won't get into that. Georgie McElroy, chairperson by default of the Horticulture Advisory Committee.
Well, thank you all for joining us. Just to keep things consistent and business-like, we do have to, believe it or not, go back to our last meeting as a parks group, which was in September of 2025. So I don't know if you all got a chance to review the minutes from that meeting, but they are in the packet. We would just need to formally adopt or approve those minutes if anyone would like to make a motion to do that, or if we need time to read them. Let me know.
I move that we approve the minutes as written for Tuesday, September 30th, 2025.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, given that this is our first meeting in 2026, we will have some more traditional agenda items for our next meeting in March, but we did want to give enough time. We do have a presentation tonight. Mr. Greg Giesman with the Department of Natural Resources is here joining us to present, or just really kind of give us information on the Tree City designation, what it looks like, what it is, what it might mean for the town of Berlin. So I do have some information up on the screen here that he provided in advance of tonight's meeting. I do hope that some of you may have gotten a chance to review this already, but it is in the packet. I will put up on the screen as he kind of moves along. But thank you for joining us. I think this is exciting. It's come up quite a bit over the last couple of years that I've been part of this group. So
Right.
If you want to just take it away.
Yeah, of course. So thank you guys for having me. I started with the Forest Service end of last March as the new urban and community forester for the Eastern region, which is basically the whole Eastern Shore minus Cecil County. Prior to me joining the Forest Service, there hadn't been anyone in this position for about 20 to 25 years, just due to the structure of the government, previous administrations. There was some funding shortfalls and hiring freezes and all that good stuff. So when they had the opportunity, I saw this opened. I came from an environmental science background, so I was new to forestry as well, but it was a good fit. I was in the oyster industry before, doing oyster reef and living shoreline stuff. So joined the Forest Service last March, and that's probably why this is the first time you guys are having some sort of outreach, because no one's been in this position before. So one of my main roles outside of tree compliance and Forest Conservation Act review is reaching out to the communities and seeing how the Forest Service can assist them with completing tree plantings and technical assistance, financial support, and that kind of thing. So one of my main goals when I joined was, and by the way, I'm from Snow Hill, so born and raised in Snow Hill. So I was looking at what communities that already had a lot of this in place, these standards in place, so that we could get the ball rolling really fast. And Berlin obviously jumped to the top of the list because of the work that the public does in the town, and how much pride there is for this town, and older towns tend to have really great tree cover, and yeah, so it was almost like the low-hanging fruit, but that's a good thing. That means a lot of this is already in place for you guys and shouldn't be a huge lift. So I wanted to reach out to Berlin about Tree City USA because it kind of opens up the pathways to those funding avenues and the various different financial ways that we can assist with tree plantings and the technical assistance. And it's really straightforward. There's the 4 standards that I've provided to you guys, and what's pretty new is I'm also the reviewer for it, so I'm the one that gets to not only help you guys out, but I'm the one that approves you guys getting recognized too, which hasn't always been the case. It used to be at a state level. They've moved it regionally, so I've actually started approving applications from 2025, so I'm learning more about what needs to be turned in order to get this recognition. So if we don't get it, then you guys should blame me, of course, but that's not going to happen. Another great thing about this year is it's actually the 50th anniversary of Tree City USA from the Arbor Day Foundation. So when you're recognized, you get street signs and a bunch of cool stuff to display around town. And this year it'll have that really cool 50th anniversary designation on it as well. So if you guys don't know, and I guess for anyone out there that doesn't know what Tree City USA is, it's a program, it's a recognition program by the Arbor Day Foundation, which is a great group of people that, they do anything related to trees. They have something in their foundation that works on it. So Tree City is really like the urban and community forestry arm of the Arbor Day Foundation, and it's a way to recognize towns for their work with their tree care and celebrating trees. And then to become recognized, there's 4 standards. First standard is a tree board or department, which is very straightforward. I mean, we have groups that have their public works as their designated tree board. It doesn't have to be formalized. It can just be, hey, these are the people that are going to oversee trees. So the Parks Commission could do it, the Public Works, even the horticultural group. So it's really up to you guys to decide. It really comes down to who's that point of contact that's going to be the person I reach out to provide all the documents at the end of the year, and then be responsible for taking these documents. So Berlin seems like they already have that in place, so it's really just comes up to you guys to decide who's going to be that point of contact for that. A public tree care ordinance, I'm not sure if you guys have one. More than likely you do, but that's pretty straightforward. If you have one in effect already, we can just use that one. If you want to add anything to it or amend it to recognize Tree City USA, you can. It's not required, but we can just use the existing code that's in place if you have one.
Could you give me an example of what this might be? Does this have to do with what kinds of plants or the size of the plants?
Yeah, it's usually just an ordinance about like who's responsible for tree care, like how far maybe the spacing off the curb has to be, who's responsible for pruning yard waste, that kind of thing.
Will these people also be in charge of enforcing the new regulation or alerts that the Forestry Service has just put out about which plants we are not, like, they're plants that they're not allowing to be sold anymore? Can we make sure that those aren't, is that the kind of thing that you would put in your ordinance?
Yeah, I mean, you could pick different what species you want the town.
Well, just to follow the sensible
like a landscape
guidelines that have just come out about, like, plants that you don't plant, like Japanese knotweed.
Right.
They just published a list. I
Right,
saw.
yeah, it just has to be a formalized ordinance that's
Okay.
approved that says, and I can provide more information about and samples of other ordinance that have been.
Oh, that
passed
would be
before.
excellent.
Yeah, I can.
Excellent.
Yep.
For clarity, it is my understanding Jimmy and Cody, correct me if I'm wrong, I do not believe the town of Berlin does have a tree care ordinance in place currently. So this would be something that has to be adopted by our mayor and council. So if
Right.
you have a template of some kind.
Of course,
you
yep.
could present that to the group again and work on it to formally then present and be adopted by the council.
Perfect.
Would this ordinance, it would not only protect trees on public land, but there are some really good old trees in Berlin. And I know a few of us sitting at this table would want the ordinance to protect, without violating property rights,
Right.
to protect those trees as well. We have the state champion longleaf pine on
Mhm.
North Main Street as we speak.
Right.
Laura has the 6th largest magnolia grandiflora on her property, and the town of Berlin would weep if that ever came down.
Me too.
Yeah, so something like that.
So, yeah, so the ordinance that you guys put in, we kind of have a standard, similar to our Forest Conservation Act, where we put out minimum standards, and you guys can make them as strict as you want, or amend them however. I've been going through this, really the bar is very low for what they're looking for to get recognition, because they want you guys to get your foot in the door and get excited about it and just get the ball rolling. So then this first year, really, I think the main goal is just to get the recognition, and then we can, go year by year, strengthening it up in certain places and doing different things. So, yeah, whatever you guys want in the ordinance is really up to the town, and as long as it meets the minimum standards, we're fine with whatever,
Okay.
So that could be something, if, we can talk more about this offline, but if you do have a template of some sort, we
Mhm.
can then bring it back to both of these groups,
Right.
tweak it so it suits the town, and then present to the mayor and council
Yeah.
for
Mhm.
approval to.
Yeah, that would be great, yeah, and Arbor Day does have a model ordinance for tree care as well, so. And, so that's the standard too, so that will need to be adopted, and all of this is due by December 31st, 2026, so we have plenty of time to get all this taken care of prior to the approval. And then the standard 3 is the annual expenditure of $2 per capita. That is pretty low for tree care. I don't know what the population, the official population of Berlin is, if anyone knows.
It's over 5,000. a little over
5,000. So about $10,000 a year would need to be spent on tree care expenses, which trees are very expensive to maintain, so it doesn't take much. And this all just got published. Well, it's been published, but I just got access to it on Friday, so I wasn't able to provide this yet, but I can circle this around when I provide the model ordinance. But this is the qualified expenses that you're allowed to track, and what most people submit is just an Excel spreadsheet, and they'll put each of these 6 categories and then just track their expenses that way, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be anything, super detailed or anything like that, but some of the great stuff, volunteer time at the national average, that counts as a qualified expense. So that, there's some towns that just they purchase a couple trees and then they use volunteer time to make up that difference.
Yeah, you get there pretty fast that way.
Yeah, any donations are qualified expenses as well. Trees bought, hopefully you guys don't have to buy any, because I'm hoping to give you guys them all and provide that for you. But public works salaries that when they're working on tree care, pruning, removing trees, even leaf and brush pickup. If the town goes around once a week or however often and picks up leaves, that's a qualifying expense. And then any administrative time, so even time that the Parks Commission spends on reviewing and adopting all this stuff, whether it's paid or volunteer time, that can be a qualifying expense. So I can provide this to you guys as well, but that really is you just track it in an Excel spreadsheet, and whoever is part of that tree board, you can designate someone to be the person in charge of tracking the expenses. And then the last one is really the fun one. Hold a public Arbor Day event. It can be as many as 2 people or a whole celebration. It's really what you guys want to do. It could also already be a part of a celebration that you guys already have. I know Berlin has several different events celebrating trees or fruits and that kind of stuff. So it could be a tie-in to one of those events where, okay, we'll plant a tree alongside that event, and that's our Arbor Day event. Just needs pictures, social media documentation about that, and then a proclamation from the mayor saying, hey, we recognize April 24th, I don't know what the actual day is, I think it changes, but this is Arbor Day, a signed proclamation, and just get some pictures, have a nice event with it, and just document them and upload them at the end of the year, and that'll take care of that. So,
Would be like at the spring celebration, when we give out seed packets from the Parks Commission, we could put Arbor Day on the seed packet and say something.
Yeah.
That's something we're
They
already
could all
doing.
work in conjunction, because Laura did Keep Berlin Cool. And how many trees did we plant this year?
35.
35 trees on private property.
No, 12 went in the parks.
Yeah, and Joan was responsible for getting, would you please say something about that?
In the church.
Some ancient baldcypress trees grown from seed from 2,600-year-old trees.
Oh, wow.
We just planted them in the park as part of the Keep Berlin Cool.
yeah,
So that we could work together on a celebration.
great. Yeah, and that's one thing
Seedlings.
that's one thing I meant to say in the beginning is like, one of my roles with the Forest Service is we're not trying to come in here and like change anything you guys are doing. We want to basically be technical support and give you guys money and resources to do what you're already doing. So, so any event that you have, we can provide the trees for that planting. It does need to be a tree planting. So if you're doing a seed giveaway, it could be like, all right, everyone, when the seed giveaway is over, let's go plant this tree in recognition of Arbor Day, something along those lines. So that's usually what people do is they'll do the proclamation. I mean, I think Ocean City Elementary does like a proclamation at the same time as their tree planting, and it's a big event with pictures and everything. So yeah, just any ideas that you guys have, let me know. We just want to be an add-on and provide trees and assistance that way.
Well, this year, Arbor Day is April 24th.
Okay.
So it doesn't have, it can be around that time.
Right, it doesn't,
have to be
it can be
just
any time of year, actually.
any time of year.
Right, yeah, the tree planting can be any time of year. Most people like to do it in the month of April. I mean, our calendars are pretty much booked for tree plantings all of April.
Yeah.
But it could be, later in the year, earlier in the year, whatever fits you guys.
Well,
schedule.
we want them to survive, so we're not going to do it in August.
You're right.
Yeah, but it's good to know and to give us when the proclamation, we should shoot for proclamation in association with that.
Right, yeah, that would be great. So yeah, it sounds like you guys have pretty much a lot of this in place, or at least the ability to get it done this year, which would be awesome. So I kind of created an example timeline in the second page of that packet so I would say winter time, that's really the assigning the department and board oversight, and then reviewing the model ordinance and trying to get that passed by this spring. And then, yeah, once you get through the Arbor Day celebration, it's really just budget and activity tracking and then submitting it next winter. So you're really just busy with this kind of stuff in the spring, and then it's just continuing to track and do what you normally do. And yeah, I mean, I've approved a couple already from last year, and it's not, you don't have to write a novel or keep strict, information on all this. It's really straightforward. And like I said, I can provide you guys models of each of the standards that are.
Are there many Tree City towns on the Eastern Shore? Is Easton one of them?
Easton is one, and Ocean City, and I believe they're the only current two. Salisbury had a good streak, and then they quit doing it. So yeah, the town of Ocean City has been doing it for 37 years or something like that, and Easton as well, and Galena, Maryland, surprisingly. They have 327 people in their town, and they've been doing it for 30 years or so.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's
That's
pretty
so cool.
easy to reach that, you know.
They're the one I was mentioning where I think they purchase 5 trees and then the volunteer time and they get the $600 pretty quickly or whatever it is.
I love it. I love it.
So,
And one thing too is, we're having a new school built on Main Street, and I'm sure there'll be some plantings there.
Yeah,
It would be nice to have a lot of trees, yeah.
yeah, so that's actually a great point that I wanted to bring up that's kind of outside of Tree City USA, but I guess a part of it as well is one of the things I've been doing is doing outreach to our school systems. They tend to be, especially the elementary and middle schools, areas where you have just complete turf grass with no trees anywhere, and it seems like a waste of space in my opinion. But like one of the things I've been working with Snow Hill Middle School on is doing like a food forest for their students there to learn about native persimmons and plums and that kind of thing. And they're going to do an after-school program and get a culinary person in to show them what they can do with those native fruits. So, and then another thing is planting the parking lots and getting trees around the parking lots at schools. And I actually spoke with Pocomoke Elementary this morning about they want to do an outdoor classroom and plant shade trees to help keep the shade on their benches and picnic tables. So that's a passion of mine. My mom's a teacher, my wife's a teacher, both my mother and father-in-law are teachers, so I'm really big in the schools, and eventually I want to reach out to Buckingham. I've already reached out to Worcester Prep about a tree planting on their campus as well. So any of those could be a sort of partnership that
BIS is a blank slate.
Right, yeah, they're a lot like I said, those middle schools, Snow Hill Middle is the same way, where it's just complete open grass area. And one of the great things about Berlin is, I guess I'll get into the money part of it. So we have a couple different programs at the Forest Service that can provide financial benefit to the town for whatever you guys are looking for as far as tree plantings go. It's pretty much all native species, but that's all anyone wants to plant nowadays anyway, which is a good thing. But we have a couple different things. So if we're doing a small project, I can come out if you guys want to do like anything like 10 or 15 trees. We can use our gift of tree and tremendous money, which a lot of that comes from like license plate purchases with the Department of Transportation. So we can usually get that funded pretty easily without writing any grants. We have our discretionary funding. I just have to come out, plot where you guys want them. So if you have any ideas, the caveat to that is it has to be on public land. But they're pretty generous with public. That includes town property, county, state, churches actually qualify as well too. So that's with our Tremendous program, and that's usually the smaller scale plantings. If you want to do one tree to maybe 15, we'll put together a planting plan and can do that, get that turned around pretty quickly. And that's probably what we'll do for the Arbor Day celebration, just because there's no grant for it. But we also have access to, so I guess to back up, the Maryland State passed the Tree Solutions Now Act in 2023, which required 5 million trees to be planted by 2031. And with that came not a lot of funding, could always be more, but enough to get us started. And some of that goes through the Chesapeake Bay Trust and some of the other programs, but some of it actually goes into MDOT to oversee a couple grants, and one of them is for urban areas throughout Maryland, and I don't believe anyone on the Eastern Shore has applied for these two specific grants because there's probably no one that's told them it's there, but one is for $1,000, and that the deadline for that grant is in July for the fall planting season. and we get all of our trees from a nursery across the bridge, but if you get a lot of volunteer work, $1,000 can go a long way. We get a discount on our trees, so we could turn that, I think the trees we buy are about $35 to $40 for a 5-gallon tree. So we get them pretty heavily discounted through our tremendous program. So that's kind of our medium. If we're doing a medium-sized planting in urban areas, we'll go with that's the MDOT MUCFC grant, which is Maryland Urban and Community Forestry Commission grant, and that's for $1,000. But Berlin actually qualifies as a urban and underserved community under the Tree Solution Now Act, and you're within, I believe it's a mile of an MDOT facility, which 113 counts as an MDOT facility, a numbered state road. So you actually do qualify for the $5,000 grant as well, and that's on the same timeline. That grant is due every year, July 15th and January 15th. So we just missed it for this fall, but it would have been a quick turnaround. It'd be better. So just keep those in mind. If you guys have any larger scale tree plantings you want to do, the MUCFC grant is only for public land as well, but the MDOT grant, the urban tree grant, is actually can be on private property as well. So
Wow.
Which one was that?
that's the MDOT urban tree. The $5,000 grant can be put on private property as well. We also have a program. We work with the Alliance of the Chesapeake Bay, and we're just the technical assistants, called Healthy Forest, Healthy Waters. That is pretty much a fully paid tree planting. Anything over an acre on private property, we can get that fully funded and paid for as well. So we have a lot of different grants. I've only tapped into the ones I guess are the most relevant. But if you know anyone that wants trees, send me an email and I'll match you guys up with whatever grant we have. We have the Backyard Buffers program, which gives out 25 to 30 saplings every year as well.
We
too.
took part in that this last year.
Yeah, so that's
We actually do it, I personally am the contact for Worcester County.
Oh, cool. Oh, okay.
Is kind of the host for the county.
Awesome.
We'll be doing that again.
Awesome. Well, appreciate your service. I didn't know that.
Yep.
But yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Greg, do any of the grants cover, you mentioned technical support, and I know in your last month you talked about having an inventory, so my question is, do any grants cover things like tree inventory, urban tree canopy analysis, or invasive plant assistance?
I don't believe those particular ones I mentioned. There is a Chesapeake Bay Trust grant that does do one of the, I guess, tracks you can pick is an urban tree canopy analysis. And invasive species is one they're looking at big time. I'll have to look to see if that's in any of them. But without having it right in front of me, I don't know. But I can.
And how about the inventory?
I believe that's in that same Chesapeake Bay. The canopy analysis and inventory is all kind of wrapped into that same grant. And that one's like $25,000. That's a large one.
Well, it's an
It
expensive
is.
project.
Yeah, so
I
guess-
didn't know that it would cost that much for this.
Well,
to speak on that, we have, this actually, it was published in July with the U.S. Forest Service. I just got a hold of it on Friday, actually. Some of the U.S. Forest Service, obviously with everything going on, they've lost pretty much all their staff besides one person. So a lot of this information is late getting out. But I have and I will email this to Kate to send out with the same package. But it's the tree cover status. They actually did run a spatial analysis of the town of Berlin about where tree cover has been gained and lost. This is from 2013 to 2021. And what you can see here is you've gained 13 acres of tree cover in that time period, but the land percentage is still at 29%. And one of the goals that we like to see for a community is about 40%. So there's there's still 459 acres of turf grass that could be converted, and 506 acres of impervious surface that does not have tree cover. So, but this also tells you your annual benefits that are from your air pollution reduction, stormwater runoff reduction, carbon dioxide mitigation is about $631,000 a year. So, and it shows what sector in Berlin that loss occurred, and it's kind of spread out here, and I don't know the town as well as you guys, but
Is this information available online, or?
it is public information. I don't know if,
I just, like, as we're moving forward with some of our ordinances, it would be very helpful to have that information.
I can provide this to you for sure.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, I'll send that. I have access to it, and I can provide it to the public. I don't know if the public has access to the website.
I see.
It might be
I see
like
what you-
gatekeeped a little bit, but I'll get it to you guys.
Thank you.
Of course. But that's kind of a way for you guys to set, hey, we want, maybe for 2026 to increase it by 3% or something like that, and what, we can come up with a plan to see what it would take to get there.
Just getting trees on all of these public places, the churches, the schools, there are a lot of little places that we don't consider public that your list includes.
Right.
I think that we can make a real impact on that.
Yeah, and
canopy.
those are the easiest ones to get funded as well, because they're,
And is it any kind of woody, like shrub, or is it only like pine trees or oaks?
we have a list, so you guys can pick off of our list, and
Okay.
I can provide that list. We do have some native shrubs on there. Depending on the grant, some grants require you to do 50% trees to shrubs or 70% trees to shrubs.
So
you can
that's
mix-
all part of the.
That's all part of the grant, so it'll outline that for you, but
We don't have to make that decision.
we like to push the big shade trees, the white oaks and bald cypress and all that good stuff is
I
what we
think
like
our
to push.
parks are very much in need, especially Henry Park. It's just barren, if you ask me, especially, I would love to see some kind of a tree buffer between, it's right on the side of the highway.
Right,
And the kids are breathing that, they're
Right.
playing basketball right there. But also Stephen Decatur Park. Over recent years, we have lost a lot of the older trees.
Right.
None have been, I don't want to say none, because we did have some. But we need more trees there. Also, I would like some, I keep saying that, but I would love to have any kind of buffer between the highway and that park as well.
That would be very helpful to know what sort of sound buffering, air
Right.
cleaning, what are the best plants for that? I mean, I imagine something like an evergreen, like a hemlock style tiny leaf, but I don't know what
yeah, I mean, we
would serve that.
can do an analysis on that too. There's the iTree software that can tell you all those different benefits of what, if we use this species here, what the perceived benefits might be. It also depends on the utilities. If there's power lines, we're going to want to do like a dogwood or a redbud or something along those that isn't going to grow up into the power
Well, being on the,
lines.
on the state. highway.
Also, we were told that for safety, like, we wouldn't have a dense evergreen,
Yeah.
buffer, because
Safety.
for people could be hiding in there, or,
Right.
you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
a kid could be pulled in there. But it would be nice to have something that's natural to buffer the highway from both parks.
Right.
Laura, how many trees did you plant in Stephen Decatur?
There were the 5 bald cypress, but they weren't anywhere near the highway. I
No, I'm
agree,
sorry,
like,
wait a
that-
minute.
There's a lot of
Henry Park.
advantage. Oh, in Henry, there were 7, and most
Oh,
of those
good.
went along the fence
That's
line by the
awesome.
highway.
That's
But I
good.
just feel like that's one public spot
Yeah.
where we could use more.
There's room, there's
There
room
is.
there.
There's plenty of room.
Because
So-
the shade there is what I think
Having-
is so nice.
Yeah. Having those statistics will be really good for grant writing
Absolutely.
and planning, so you can meet your goals incrementally.
Absolutely,
Right.
yes.
And also for public, like outreach, because a lot of people in town have no idea what the benefits are, or how far along we are in the process, or
I
what's
think
the
what you're
loss, or
saying
what's
is
the gain, all that's valuable for the
We
public.
really need to up our outreach to our citizens about what's going on with that, you know.
And also, just to add to that, you know, with skin cancer and people having to put sunscreen on little kids, it would be nice if our playgrounds were shaded also.
Yeah.
But in both of those parks, they really could use that. So, I mean, I'd love to just jump right in and.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we went through the next steps of Tree City USA, but as far as the grants and getting trees to you guys, I guess the next step is come together, think about where you want the trees, how many. You know, depending on the money, we might have to piecemeal it over several years or several different grant cycles, but really come together with a comprehensive plan about what do you guys want. I can come out on site, plot those points where the trees, where you want them, the species, all that stuff, and then we get the grant written. Or if it's a small amount, we can figure out the best way forward, whether it's with the Tremendous or with a grant, and then go from there.
I'd like to see Stephen Decatur realize level 2 arboretum status. We have a level 1 arboretum status in Berlin at Taylor House. And there are enough trees, and especially if we replace some of the damaged trees, we could have that would only bode well for our recognition of, as a tree city, if we
Right.
actually had arboretum status for the park.
Yeah, that would be great.
I love all the London Plains trees at the Taylor House, because that's a tall canopy of a shade tree, and then have smaller dogwoods or whatever under it to have different.
Yep.
And for the beauty, how would we plan that?
I've done quite a number of tree plantings, so I'd be happy to help with planning with the forester.
Yeah, we would, so I guess what we would do is, like I said, put together a planting plan. We have our own process about developing the planting plan. You guys would sign off on it. When the grant funds are awarded, I would order the trees through that discount nursery, that program that we have. They would either get delivered to Tuckahoe State Park, or I would drive and go get them. We could store them at we have a facility in Powellville, where we have plenty of space to store the trees, and then it would just be working with you guys on a date, you know, when do we want to do all this, how many trees we can
How
plant.
large are the trees?
The ones we get through this program are all 5 gallon. They're usually probably about 6 feet tall for your big
Nice.
shade trees. They're not, you don't need tree tubes or anything like that for them. Those are usually on our non-urban our big forest plantings that I'm not a forester, or I don't work in the state forest or anything. I'm strictly urban, so we stick with the bigger stuff so the mowers don't run them over.
Yeah, the mowers is a big issue, and the care around the trees. And
Right.
that has been the death of most of our tree plantings in the past.
Right.
And I'm wondering if there's, I mean, not just for us, but for individuals who have them at their homes. Is there a clinic, somehow do we get that information, that volcanoes are bad and donuts are good? I mean, you know, so that we need to have like a clinic or something to
Right.
help people.
Well, as the community
Raise awareness.
forester for the Eastern Shore, I'm more than willing to come do any
Do
speaking.
you think that that might be a great
Yeah,
event
I
for us
mean,
to have in the parks? I don't know.
That, you could do a social media campaign around it. One of
YouTube video.
Yeah, so as part of this grant, we do include, mulch is included as well. That initial round of mulch is included. That does eat into the budget a little bit, so that is something to factor. And one of the things that actually a lady up at Asbury Church in Salisbury, when we did a plant, I think it's Asbury, it's Mount Herman Road, over there near the Burger King and the old
St.
Toys R Us.
St. Alban.
St. Albans, yeah, there you go. A lady there discovered that if you turn the 5-gallon bucket over and you cut the side out, you can wrap it around the trunk, and that prevents the weed whackers from tearing the bark off the side of it. She let us steal that idea from her, so we've been doing that on a lot of our plantings as well, where you might have like the weed eater pressure to the to the bark of the tree, so.
Okay, so that would be included in our our planting lessons.
Right, so
Because that is, it's the aftercare is where
Right.
so many trees lose it.
So that's a good example of one of the 5 million tree plantings that we've done around here is up at St. Albans. So if you ride by it, that's one that Jarrett, who, he works at the nursery now, but he did that with St. Albans. And that's kind of something typical we could do for churches or schools around here.
So we're looking at a July date for any grant application submissions.
Right, July 15th for those two MDOT grants. The Chesapeake Bay Trust, I believe, are rolling grants, and I just don't know enough about them off the top of my head to speak to them, but I can provide you guys with that information. I believe they're rolling.
Yeah, they are.
This way.
Yeah.
And going back to timeline for tree city designation, the example timeline that you have here. Is there any flexibility with this? And the only reason I'm asking is because we as a Parks Commission group meet every other month. So the next time this body would be meeting formally would be March.
Right. Yeah, that's just an example. You could,
I guess my question is, could we coordinate an Arbor Day event or something along those lines for April, but not have an ordinance in place yet?
yes.
You
You could cram everything into December if you wanted to, as long as you had it by the deadline. I don't care.
Okay, I didn't know if we had to follow.
Right, no. The ordinance is just a requirement
Okay.
for the
So we
official
can move forward
recognition.
with tackling all the things on that checklist in
Right.
any order, really.
Exactly, yep.
Yeah. Actually, we are going to have it, we are going to be planting another tree up there, so.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, if there's any questions that you guys come up with, even after the meeting, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always available. They don't give us business cards. We're in a state budget crisis, but Kate has my email if you want to circulate it. It's I can tell you
It's on
to
the
it.
back of the packet.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's on
I thought I included it in there.
page 5.
Yeah, gregory.geisman@maryland.gov. So you can reach out to me anytime you want.
And you can send me over that information that we talked about.
Of course,
And then
yep.
we'll talk more offline about moving forward with next steps.
Awesome, yeah, that would be great.
I mean, I'm not going to speak for the groups here, but I'm fairly certain that we're all in agreement that this is something that the town would, it would be a missed opportunity for us not to pursue something.
Absolutely. And really,
No, I don't think a motion's needed right now. Yeah.
Okay.
really, not to throw people under the bus, but the two people sitting at this table who should work on it with the Park Commission.
I'm all about trees, I'm happy to help.
Hey, I'm.
Laura did the stormwater management map to show all the areas that were in dire need of trees, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I just brought up some old data that was existing that had been provided to the town from the 2007 report. So there's a lot of data that we can use to
I think that
identify places for trees.
That will be exceedingly helpful, and I really,
What about in downtown? Could there be, when you look at old towns, there's always big old trees. Are there places that we can look at?
Right, that's why I was asking about the urban tree canopy
Yes.
analysis, because that actually shows you on a 1 meter by 1 meter, grid, kind of like what's the available space.
Yeah.
And then you can
That's awesome.
you can layer on things like who owns the parcel to figure out who would give the permission to plant a tree and who's going to take care of the tree. But you do a drive by? Sure, you could do that, but it's really valuable
Look
to
at the
have
canopy.
it
Because
over.
in my mind, I think down by the firehouse,
Yeah.
the whole strip,
Yes.
firehouse to the.
And on Main Street, right? And
Yeah.
those are people we also reached out to with the Keep Berlin Cool. We did targeted outreach for people living in the stormwater problem areas to ask. So I think there are ways, using mapping tools and stuff, that we could get private property involved if you want.
Yeah. We could probably, once we continue moving along, we can probably schedule a meeting with two groups and kind of
actually, it's 3 groups. It's Horticulture Advisory, Keep Berlin Cool, Horticulture Advisory. So we could all work together on this. And maybe alleviate Public Works of some of their many responsibilities and become what are we?
The tree
The
board,
tree board.
essentially.
Tree board.
Well, the tree board, we can talk about the finer details, but the Keep Berlin Cool was a program, the applicant for the grant that was awarded to do that was the town.
Yeah.
So we would have to just keep it consistent with
Yes.
the entities, if you will.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for all that.
Of course, yeah,
Well, thank you for being here, that was
of
super
course.
helpful.
Yeah, anything you guys need, let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Any other questions or comments for Greg before we move along?
We're going to put you to work.
If it ends with trees in the ground, I'm very happy to work for you.
I'm very appreciative of this resource. It's, I was wondering why we weren't getting any information about Tree City, and it's because there was nobody in that
There was nobody,
position. But thank you
Of
for
course.
taking that job.
All right. Well, the only thing I wanted to bring to the Parks Commission's attention is to include the upcoming 2026 meeting schedule, event schedule on the bottom half of the agenda here. So if you have any questions about it, just let me know. The only one that's a tentative date right now is there isn't a confirmed date for the Glow Walk in November. So we're going to work with the Health Department and Just Walk folks to confirm that date. But other than that, it's a fairly straightforward schedule that's at the bottom here.
If we did have an emergency where we needed to okay something, are we able to do a vote over emails?
We really
or-
should not do that.
Okay, that is, I was just wondering if there was something, so it would be put off for the next meeting, or will we ask for an emergency meeting?
We would still have to publicize it regardless.
Okay.
There are certain statutory things that warrant an emergency. So I would want to
No, I'm
make sure
just-
that we meet that. There might be a way to go about doing something
You,
like that.
it's all on you, I'm just saying that if it's not a possibility, or that we don't have to expect that, that's fine with me, I just want to know what to expect. No,
I would
no
prefer- I would
emergencies
prefer
is
not
what
to
we're
go that
saying.
route.
No emergencies is what we're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, I mean, if it can be put on or put off until a meeting date.
I'm perfectly fine with
I think
that.
that would be nice. Okay. Okay. Any other
Thanks.
questions, comments, concerns? Before we
Great.
adjourn? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You guys say you were planting the trees.
I did.
I was out walking.